Deep in the blackest parts of the ocean, are real sea monsters actually lurking? Or have we been chasing shadows all along? Today, this myth-busting deep dive plunges beneath the waves to separate ancient legends from hard science. And the truth hiding down there is stranger than most horror stories. For as long as humans have sailed, we've filled the oceans with nightmares. Tentacles thicker than masts, eyes as wide as shields, jaws big enough to swallow boats whole. Old maps warned, "Here be monsters," and sailors' logbooks described creatures no one could explain. But were they exaggerating, or were they seeing something real? Let's find out. People believe in real-life sea monsters for a simple reason. The ocean is huge, dark, and mostly unexplored. More than 80% of the world's oceans remain unmapped and unseen by human eyes. That mystery leaves plenty of room in our imaginations. A strange shadow under the water, a sudden wave that rocks a ship, a glimpse of something pale and long just below the surface. Our brains fill in the gaps with the scariest possible explanation. Add in fog, storms, exhaustion, and superstition, and it becomes very easy for misunderstood science to turn into terrifying legends passed down for centuries. For a long time, even educated captains and naturalists wrote about sea monsters as if they were real. Whales with horns were called sea unicorns. Oarfish, long ribbon-like animals that can reach more than 8 meters, were described as giant serpents that rose from the depths to warn of disasters. Floating, rotting whale carcasses, half-eaten by sharks and distorted by gases, became unknown monsters washed ashore. This is where it gets interesting. Many of the classic monster sightings actually match real animals we now understand, but filtered through fear, poor visibility, and zero modern biology. Take the legendary kraken, a creature said to be so huge that sailors mistook its back for an island. Old stories describe tentacles wrapping around ships, dragging them into whirlpools. For centuries, this sounded like pure fantasy. Then real science caught up. In the 19th and 20th centuries, researchers started finding enormous tentacles in sperm whale stomachs, and later, entire dead giant squids washed ashore. These were not cartoon monsters, but real animals with eyes as big as dinner plates and bodies that could stretch over 10 meters long. Now this is where researchers were stunned. There is also the colossal squid, even bulkier than the giant squid, with hooks on its tentacles instead of simple suckers. Suddenly, those old tales of titanic struggles between something unseen and a ship in rough seas did not sound quite so impossible. But this is the part most people never hear. When scientists examined those eyewitness accounts more carefully, they noticed patterns. Many attacks happened at night or during storms, when visibility was terrible. Ships were already damaged or unstable. What felt like a monster pulling a vessel under was often just powerful waves, whirlpools, or the ship's own momentum in rough water. The giant squid probably did not hunt ships. Instead, a squid snagged on lines or harpoons thrashed violently, making it look like a deliberate attack. The myth stayed, but the intention of the animal was completely misunderstood. Sea serpents are another classic ocean horror. Stories of massive snake-like creatures stretching across the waves appear in Norse sagas, Japanese folklore, and early American reports. One of the most famous cases, the 19th century Gloucester sea serpent, had hundreds of witnesses claiming they saw a long, humped creature moving like a snake. Here's the twist almost everyone gets wrong. Many of these sightings can be explained by groups of animals moving together. A line of porpoises surfacing in rhythm can look like a long, undulating body. Floating logs, seaweed clumps, or even lines of birds can create the illusion of a single giant creature when seen from a distance. Some reports also match the appearance of oarfish or basking sharks just beneath the waterline. Real animals, but misread by frightened eyes. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, so most classic sea monsters are just confused whales, squids, and fish. Case closed, right? Not quite. Here's where it gets interesting again. As technology improves, deep-sea submersibles, remote cameras, sonar mapping, scientists keep discovering genuinely bizarre life forms in the deep. Transparent fish with see-through heads, sharks that glow in the dark, jellyfish longer than blue whales, and creatures that look like living nightlights drifting through eternal darkness. They're not monsters in the fairy tale sense, but they are absolutely alien by our everyday standards. In 2012, for example, researchers filmed a giant squid alive in its natural habitat for the first time. It did not roar or crush submarines, but it moved with an eerie, otherworldly grace, its long arms trailing like ghostly ribbons. The moment proved something powerful for this educational video. The gap between imagined monsters and real animals is not as wide as we think. Nature already designs creatures far stranger and more extreme than most movie scripts, and we have still only sampled a tiny fraction of the deep ocean. Now, this is where researchers were stunned once more. Some monster beachings that remained mysteries for centuries were solved only recently thanks to DNA testing. Whenever a huge decomposed carcass washed ashore, no fur, no clear bones visible, just a giant rubbery mass, people rushed to label it a monster or prehistoric survivor. These mystery corpses were called globsters. For decades, they fueled hidden history theories and urban legends about surviving dinosaurs. But modern analysis of tissue samples showed that almost all globsters were simply decayed whales or sharks, their familiar features destroyed by scavengers in the sea. Real science quietly erased the monster label, even if the myths stayed alive in old photos and sensational headlines. So, are there real-life sea monsters? The surprising truth is that it depends entirely on what is meant by monster. If monster means a vengeful, supernatural beast waiting to attack ships and drag humans into the deep, then no, there is no good evidence such creatures exist. Myth-busting and debunking myths in this way is actually pretty straightforward. Every dramatic claim of an aggressive sea demon falls apart under careful investigation, often revealing misunderstood history, flawed observations, or natural animals misidentified under harsh conditions. But if monster means gigantic, powerful, or unbelievably weird animals living in dark, crushing depths that humans can barely reach, then yes, those absolutely exist, and more are being discovered all the time. The real ocean story is not about evil creatures, but about how little we know. Our fear created legends of krakens and serpents. Our curiosity builds submarines, cameras, and scientific expeditions to find the truth. In the process, we uncover science facts that are more eerie and more beautiful than any horror myth. Glowing sharks, colossal squids, ghostly fish, and ecosystems thriving around volcanic vents with no sunlight at all. The unexpected truth behind sea monster stories is that humans are most afraid of the unknown, and the ocean is our biggest unknown of all. So yes, there are monsters in the sea, but they are real animals, governed by biology, not curses, and their existence tells a story of evolution, not fantasy. The better we understand them, the less monstrous they become, and the more incredible the real planet beneath the waves appears. What myth should I break down next?